What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
The time is here, guys. We're predicting the main event, UFC 319. Khamzat Chimaev came in like a whirlwind, and he's finally in his first ever title fight. He's got a very difficult opponent in Dricus Du Plessis. Nick, let's break this one down, and then we're going to make predictions. We're going to see if we agree on this one or if we disagree. And honestly, I've gone back and forth so many times, I might still do it one more time before I even give my final prediction. But This fight is so interesting to me because all of the things that you would want to, kind of create that would give you a fighter who could counteract just the dominant style of Khamzat Chimaev, somebody who's really strong, somebody who's also a great grappler, has good submissions, great scrambles, hits like a Mack truck, things like that, has good cardio. Dricus possesses all of the potential Achilles heels for Khamzat, but Khamzat has looked so perfect in his career that it's hard to even imagine facing adversity. But I think for sure, and unlike the Gilbert Burns fight, which had some adversity, I think this one is going to be by far his toughest test yet.
Yeah, this is the fight we've been so excited to break down. And even to this final moment, we're at the finish line, and I still am a little bit torn as to who I want to take. But one thing about Dricus Du Plessis is he is for sure the most unorthodox fighter that Khamzat Chimaev has ever faced. Sure, we've seen Khamzat in there with really great fighters. Robert Whitaker was a world champion. If you beat him, you become world champion. We understand that Khamzat Chimaev has fought former world champions, great fighters, basically staples
Top
in the
contenders, you name
middleweight top contenders for years and years. But one of the things that they don't have that Dricus does has is his unconventional style, the fact that he's so unorthodox and truly probably the most difficult guy to recreate in the gym when you're leading up to a fight with him. Now, when you talk about how this fight can go, of course, when you put on any sort of YouTube video or anybody that's talking about this in the MMA space, everybody has the exact same thought as to how this fight can go. Round one, watch out for the submission from Khamzat. If Dricus doesn't pay attention and he's not on his P's and Q's, he's going to get his back taken and get choked out in the first round. But if that doesn't happen, Khamzat has no gas tank, and of course he's going to fade by the time round 2 starts, and then by the time 3, 4, and 5 come around, Dricus is going to be in full form, ready to just take over the fight. I'm not going to disagree with that, because everybody knows history shows exactly what the present will give us. And Khamzat Chimaev has come across the cage in every single fight, expressed his dominance, and then either gone to knock somebody out with a single shot or shot a takedown on him and ended up controlling the fight. So I really think that Dricus Du Plessis has to combat that first round. And I don't know if he's going to do it with the way Merab fought Sugar Sean in the first fight, by staying away as far as he can. I don't think so. But we have to understand that Dricus Du Plessis is a world champion, and he's got a world championship camp that he's been training with. They understand where Khamzat is most dangerous and when Khamzat's most dangerous. And I'm pretty sure they're going to come out expecting him to take a shot. The main reason I think that Khamzat does shoot early is because when you're talking about a world champion fight in the UFC, every little detail matters. And this is a mental game just as much as it is a physical game. Dricus Du Plessis knows that Khamzat can take him down to the ground. But if he can avoid that early pressure and that early shot when both men are totally dry and Khamzat's as fresh as can be, he could potentially drag Khamzat into the later portions of the fight. But Khamzat Chimaev's tenacity is what really will cause this fight to either make or break, and everybody's prediction is going to be right, where Khamzat comes out, controls the fight early on, and gets the champion out early, or the fight ends up going a little bit longer. Dricus finds his second win, Khamzat doesn't find his, and then we see sort of the champion do what he does best, which is come on strong towards the end of the fight. There are so many ways this fight can go, and obviously those two paths to victory stick out as the most clear ways for both men to win. But I honestly feel like with Dricus Du Plessis knowing exactly how Khamzat's going to come into the cage, I expect the first round to be different than what everybody's expecting. I still expect Khamzat to shoot, but I think Dricus's tactics in the early parts of this fight are what are going to stick out and could be the reason he wins this fight, but could also be the reason he loses.
Yeah, to me, when you look at this fight, I feel like it's one of those ones it's so hard to predict.
For sure.
But there's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking when this is all over, and it's going to be oh my gosh, it was so obvious. Of course, Khamzat submitted Dricus in the first round.
Right.
He got Kamaru Usman, who's a far better grappler than Dricus, down in the first round. He does that to every opponent. Of course, he took Dricus down and submitted him.
Right.
Or the flip side of that is going to be, of course, Dricus knocked out Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat was having trouble with the power of Gilbert Burns, who spent most of his career at 155. And you're talking about one of the heaviest hitters at middleweight, which is a full 30-pound spread on weigh-in day. So it's going to be way more obvious come Sunday morning than it is right now. A couple things that stick out to me that give Dricus an advantage. His camp is very well aware of what Khamzat does and what he does well. Morin Visser, Dricus's coach, even went as far as to say is Khamzat's kind of a one-dimensional fighter.
Yeah.
And he said Khamzat's not a good striker. Now, I don't agree with that sentiment. I do think
he went as far as to say that he wouldn't even license Khamzat if he came down for a kickboxing match in South Africa. So that tells you how he feels.
That's semantics. That's that's talking points. Obviously, Khamzat can strike, but we all know that's not his bread and butter. And we know Dricus is working with Chechnyan wrestlers.
Yeah.
Now, you could go get wrestlers from the United States or from even Dagestan for that matter, but he's picked Chechnyan wrestlers specifically because he thinks that they can most closely mimic the style of Khamzat Chimaev and how he's going to come forward, what type of takedowns he's going to use and stuff like that.
Right.
On the other side of that coin, Khamzat Chimaev is out with Sam Calvita, who in my opinion is the best strength and conditioning with an emphasis on the conditioning aspect of things in the MMA game. The guy's a wizard when it comes to increased VO2 max, increased burst output, increased long-term cardio for a fight that goes the duration, things like that. So both guys know what the other possesses that's dangerous to them, and both of them are out addressing those various things, which makes this fight to me very interesting. And I also believe that we will see the best version of Khamzat Chimaev as well as the best version of Dricus Du Plessis that we've seen to date. However, I believe that the version of Dricus Du Plessis that we see come fight night is going to be enough to defeat Khamzat Chimaev, hand him his first record.
Come on.
Hand him his first loss of his career. I just think I come back to the stylistic matchup of this fight.
Okay.
Dricus has far more power than anyone that Khamzat has ever faced.
Right.
Dricus is far more awkward than anyone has ever faced.
Facts.
Dricus has better cardio than anyone Khamzat has ever faced. Dricus is the champion, and he's not a champion that gets swallowed up by the moment.
No.
He's ready and embracing this challenge with Khamzat Chimaev. A lot of opponents, when they get in the cage with Khamzat, have been finished before they even stepped foot in the cage. That will not be the case with Dricus. Yes, Dricus is going to get taken down. Yes, Khamzat's going to have control time where he lands big shots. We're going to be nervous if we're cheering for Dricus at any point in this fight. But I think he's tough enough and he's got the skill to weather the storm that's going to be Khamzat in those early rounds. And I really believe that Dricus Du Plessis is going to systematically break down Khamzat. It's going to start at around minute 7 or 8, so halfway through the second round. He's going to start to find the rhythm, find the timing. He's going to either have defended a couple of takedowns or have been taken down and gotten himself back up to his feet. And then he's going to start to work his offensive with those big body shots, those big kicks, those big punches. And that's going to open up stuff over the top. I like Dricus Du Plessis by 4th or 5th round technical knockout. And still, the man from South Africa is your champion come Sunday morning.
So not only are we going to see Khamzat Chimaev lose for the very first time, but he's going to lose via finish.
Yep.
Wow.
He's going to get knocked out.
That's insane to me. And you know what? Dricus Du Plessis is the champion for good reason. And we have this little adage in the sport, right? Where if you get the belt, yes, you're the champion, but the world, even the champions themselves, don't see it as that. They see it as once you defend the belt, then you're truly the champion. What I love about Dricus Du Plessis is he's had the championship mentality since before he was the champion. He truly believed back before he made it to the title fights and anything like that he was the best middleweight in the world. He got his belt, and that night he goes, I'm the best middleweight in the world. He's not like a lot of these guys that go, I need to defend first, and then I'll say I'm the true champion. No, he's like, I'm the best fighter in the world. I've given everybody a tough time, and nobody's gotten their hand raised against me. So I really think if he goes out there and expresses his dominance and shows the world, I'm not afraid of Khamzat Chimaev. Everybody else might have been afraid of him, but I'm the world champion. I have just as pretty of a record in the UFC as he does. I have great finishes over great opposition. I've even had a tougher road to the belt than Khamzat has
finished some of the same people Khamzat's finished in Robert Whittaker, for
there
example.
we go. Common opponent, right? And of course, Khamzat's finish was more impressive, but Dricus Du Plessis absolutely should be rewarded for his performance in that fight. And I just love the fact that we've got two guys who are truly going in there thinking they're the better fighter and that they're going to win this fight. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy. It's this is cage fighting. Of course, both men should think that they're going to win this fight, but it's not that easy. I think that Dricus Du Plessis comes in and he's like, I don't care what Khamzat's done in the past. I don't care who he's finished, whose jaw he's dislodged. I'm a problem. He might be able to hold down a lot of guys that are close to his size, but I'm not close to his size. I'm going to show him a different level of tenacity. I'm going to show him a different level of wrestling. And remember, this isn't just a wrestling match. This is an MMA fight. And Dricus is the first one to admit to everybody, I'm not the best striker out there. I'm not the best grappler. I'm not the best with my submissions. And all in all, some of my stuff can look a little unorthodox and at times flat out ugly. But when it comes to mixing the martial arts and winning and getting your hand raised in the UFC, I'm the best in the world at 185. And until Khamzat beats me, it's going to stay that way. So that to me is really what's so interesting about this, because somebody's game plan is going to break. Right. And we don't know who's going to break. We've never seen Khamzat Chimaev's game plan break. And we haven't seen Dricus Du Plessis look as flawless in his victories as Khamzat Chimaev, but we haven't seen him break. In fact, he's like a storm. As the rounds go on, he just gets more and more dominant. He gets more and more aggressive. And somehow his technique actually gets better as the fight goes on. He starts to button things up a little bit better. His shot entries look a little bit better. And then, of course, these combinations are unorthodox and strange. They're hard to deal with. One thing Dricus does so well is he'll run at his opponent, sort of like he's sprinting at them, and he throws long hooks over the sides. And one thing we see in MMA with a lot of fighters is when they feel pressure coming their way, they tend to back straight up, even at the highest level. Everybody knows you need to angle off to the side, and we see fighters who are good at that. But at least once or twice in every fight, when you get somebody bursting in on you like that, you will end up moving straight backwards. And what happens when you move backwards is you get tall, your chin gets exposed, it gets a little bit higher up. Dricus Du Plessis knows that, and he's very good at chasing somebody down. And most of the time they're going straight backwards, but even if they do angle off, he seems to run at the angle that they're switching to, and he can still find his shots because, like I said, they're getting taller, and what he's throwing are long hooks around the guard. And as long as you keep his head in between where your two punches are throwing, something's going to land. And Dricus seems to have a lot of success with that. So I want to see how Khamzat Chimaev deals with Dricus's pressure striking the same way I want to see how DDP addresses Khamzat's pressure wrestling.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing left for you to do now is make your prediction.
Oh, you're really going to make me do that, huh? Yeah. After all this time, we got to make so many videos on this fight, and I've been checking the temperature as to what the MMA community's been saying. This is the fight of the year. I don't know if it'll beat Josh Van versus
Brandon Royval.
I don't know if it'll actually do that, but as far as promotion goes, as far as matchmaking goes, it does not get better than this. I'll go as far as to say we haven't seen matchmaking this good since Khabib versus Conor. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but this is truly the fight everybody's looking forward to. And when you go online, you ask world champion UFC fighters, you top ranked contenders, everybody, the commentary teams that's the expert in this sport, nobody knows how this fight's going to go. People have a couple different directions as to where they think it could go. But one thing about MMA is we're always wrong. The math never adds up. And just when you think something is going to go the way it goes the opposite way. I like your prediction about Dricus Du Plessis. I have never picked Dricus Du Plessis to win a fight in the UFC. He has proven me wrong every time, made me eat my words. But at the same time, I've never picked against Khamzat Chimaev. And for this fight on August 16th in Chicago, UFC 319, I am not picking against Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's going to go out there. He's going to be in his rhythm. He's going to take charge of the octagon, control it. I don't think he finds the submission in the first round. I think Dricus is going to be a handful for him to deal with, but I think we see him reshoot and find his success on the ground. In round 2, we see a second round submission victory for Khamzat Chimaev. I'll even put a cherry on top. It's going to be a rear naked choke.
rear naked choke. Dricus
right.
Du Plessis loses by tap out to Khamzat Chimaev. Well, we're split on this one. We'll just have to see what shakes out on Saturday night.